into a very ominous sky out here in the Sabi sand of South Africa. Welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Sebastian. And we are well on the go. It is go, go, go this morning as well. If you were watching last night, and perhaps you had the dam cam playing in the background, you would have heard the roaring lions for most of the evening. Now, they've been busy on the move, and we know how quickly these cats can move through a property. So we're going to do exactly that. We're headed down towards the Gowrie Gate, which is the northern gate in the Sabi Sand. If you have never joined us on one of these live interactive safaris, let us know. Tell us if it's your first time watching. You can also talk to us via the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or the YouTube chat if you're watching on YouTube. So like I said, we're going to the gate. We're just having a quick look around here because I know the Nkuhumas were last seen in Arathusa, which is down in the west, quite close to the Gowrie Gate. And I wonder if they heard those roars of the Birminghams with the evokers being around a couple of days causing a bit of havoc. I wonder if they would have run towards the Birminghams with open arms saying, "Welcome, you're home, yay," all these wonderful things, as those evokers did stir the pot quite hectically, like I said, over the last few days. So that's going to be the plan. I'm looking out for any tracks though, any cool ones of night critters that were perhaps moving around, or maybe some leopards. Who knows? There's often a leopardess that seems to walk around here. But it's not just myself out this morning. Brent is also out and about, and I think he's going to go and follow up on that poor elephant with the injury. So let's jump on board and see if he's anywhere near that area.
Morning, and welcome to a chilly morning here in the Sabi Sands. My name is Brent Smith. I have the one, the only, the incredible Wandering Wildebeest on camera with me. And yes, we are going to follow up on that elephant so we can just give a position to the park officials so they can deal with it. I'm hoping that elephant didn't move too far. So we're going to do a quick scurry into that area. The area is still zoned as a general rule that most game drive vehicles and stuff are going to stay out, but VM and I are going to go have a look and see what is going on there, so I can just update the Mpumalanga Parks people who are arriving early this morning. Now, of course, it's a very good area because Hasana was in that area last night, and I'm sure he was very close by, but without being able to get out and track on foot, he managed to evade us. So hopefully Hasana will be out and lying in the middle of the road this morning, making life a little bit easier for us. Now remember, you can send us questions on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can just pop it on which feed you might be watching on. Now, of course, the Birmingham boys were around and roaring and making lots of noise last night. Bobby was asking, would they try to take down that injured elephant? Bobby, yes, but only in about a week to 10 days' time, once it was really infected and not well. That wound was very fresh yesterday, so the elephant was actually okay and definitely not weak enough for the lions to make an attempt at. So they would, but not just yet. Speaking of lions, there are some lion tracks going up. Now, last night we heard the lions calling. They walked away from the dam and headed down towards Philemon's Dip and south from there. But then all of a sudden, I would assume to be the evokers started calling to the north, and the lions turned around and went straight back north again. So there's a possibility they're still about. However, I think the last time I heard them, just after 11, they were on their way across the northern boundary. So we'll see while we're out today whether they are still about on Djuma or they have crossed north or south. And always good to have your tea early in the morning, especially when it's chilly. And so I'm about to head into that area of that elephant. So while I'm keeping my eyes wide open for that poor injured, let's say good morning to Tristan.
Indeed, good luck. So hopefully you find that poor boy, and hopefully he's doing a little better than yesterday, although I looked at some of the pictures and I don't think that we're going to have a situation where that is going to be a happy outcome for that poor Ellie. But as Brent mentioned, I need to say good morning to all of you. My name is Tristan, and Craig is on camera. There we go. I don't even know if you saw his thumb, because that was a very, very quick one. But anyway, it is a rather cloudy, overcast morning, and so let's see what we can find. It's interesting, all the updates that we've had on these lines. It's crazy what's been happening over the last couple of days. There's lots and lots of audio, and now we've got a lioness thrown in the middle of it. So it's going to be very, very interesting to have them, to see how this all plays out and how the Birminghams kind of went. I know that they were left yesterday going kind of south to our southern boundary at about 9:30 last night, but who knows, maybe they turned back north. Now, I know that Karen, Polly, you let us know about the lioness crossing, so thank you very much for that. It's always, and Rocky as well, there we go. It's always very good very nice when you guys interact with all of us, and so hopefully you'll interact with us for the rest of the drive, and you can do that on #SafariLive on Twitter or YouTube chat. Now, the plan is for us this morning is we've come southwards. We're just at Treehouse Dam now. There's no sign of anything here at the moment, but I just wanted to come south, and we're going to go and check down towards Janet Jackson's little apartment or villa, and then we'll go past Twin Dam, see if maybe that lioness popped out that side, and then onwards towards Chitwa to go and follow up on Tingana, and maybe even Hosana might have headed that side as well. So that's kind of plan for the morning. We'll see how it goes. Lots of clouds coming out, so we're going to try and see if hopefully we can avoid being rained on this morning. It's very gusty and windy, which typically means that it's not going to rain too much at all. Now, there is very little at Treehouse Dam itself. Seems to be just a situation where there is nothing at Treehouse over the last few days. It would be nice if we got to see some Ellies or something coming down, but it seems though nothing at this stage. No sign of Hukamuri in the area. He seems to have been evading us the last few days. I haven't seen him since we kind of got back from leave, and so I'm hoping he'll pop out at some point as well. I quite like Hukamuri. I know he's been vilified and really made out to be this bad leopard, but he's not. He's just doing what's natural to him, and I like him. I think he's got a bit of kind of attitude and a bit of presence about him, and so he also makes me laugh because he's got this abnormally long tongue, and try kind of keep my laughter to myself whenever I see him and this tongue hanging out. So I like him. I think he's cool. I think he's an interesting mix, and at the end of the day, he's a different genetic code, and that's not too bad. But hopefully he leaves Hosana alone. That's the only thing I want to ask of Hukamuri, is he can be his normal self and do his thing, but as long as he leaves Hosana alone and Hosana can eke out an existence, and Tumba actually, I just don't want him to injure or hurt either one of those two, but we'll see. Right, now I'm going to head off towards Chitwa. While I do that, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy, who I believe is on the northern boundary, and I wonder if she's got any signs for any of those lions.
Not yet. The only sign I've picked up so far was what I just smelt, which was, it smelled like a musk bull, an elephant musk bull. We'll keep going. But no sign just yet. But it does look like there was a bit of rain here last night, as there's lots and lots of droplets sort of over the elephant tracks that have been moving on through. So I'm not sure when it rained here. I know at about 11 o'clock last night it started raining over the DRC. It wasn't maybe for about half an hour, and it was a bit harder than a drizzle, so it wasn't really much at all. Nothing that's going to fill the dams up. But the elephants were busy last night. There's just tracks coming in, tracks going out. I don't know if it's the same herd that was perhaps zigzagging across the road. But otherwise, I haven't seen any lion signs just yet. But I mean, you can see what the light is like out here. It's virtually impossible to spot any footprints. Like at the moment, I've got my headlights on and I've got my torch, the spotlight out. And I'm still not really able to see what is going on the ground. It's quite difficult, especially on Triple M, which is this boundary road, because the ground's quite compact. You have lots of vehicles driving over it all the time. It's not those lovely, soft, sandy roads that we have within the reserve. There are patches. When we turn onto Gari Main, it will be a completely different story. There's some really nice sections that can help you when you need to track. So we won't do too much of it. I purely wanted to check to see if any Nkuhumas have come across, but not from what I can see just yet. So perhaps that lioness that was on the dam cam quite late last night, perhaps it was that lioness we had the other evening during the school drive that was walking down Bubblesook boundary, and she was contact calling as well. I thought I'd seen suckle marks, so I thought it was the Nkuhuma lioness with the youngest cub, and perhaps she'd scattered and tried to, hide her little one from the Avoca males when they were around. Maybe it's still her. Maybe she hasn't quite regrouped just yet. But again, it's very, very hard to tell. Right, well, we're going to zoom on down Triple M, jump onto Gari Main, the other boundary, and then I think we'll start zigzagging our way through Djuma. So off we go, back to Brent to see where he is and what he's found.
So we're moving slowly back into that area where that injured Ellie was now. Just going very, very slowly, and don't want to sort of come around the corner and surprise it. Now, of course, there's still the possibility of that big musk bull being around. And as I said, I think he was the culprit when it came to injuring that younger elephant. So we're just going to go very slowly. Bobby? Hi, Bobby. Bobby, where's my sugar? Well, I have one sugar here and another sugar there. So I have multiple sugars on my body at present, but the rest of my sugars are at home in my box. Now we're keeping a careful eye out for Hasana's tracks as well. Vumpy, did you glamper on your leave? VM is not a glamper. VM is a camper. Glamping is luxury camping. Hello, little boy. VM's response is, what the hell is glamping? Yes, no, VM does not glamp, he camps. In comfort. In what? In a utilitarian style. That's how VM camps. So VM, as far it went to Tankwa, Kruger National Park, on his leave. So he went and camped there. Now, of course, VM travels with his home behind his vehicle. VM has modified a caravan. I don't know quite how to describe it, apart from the fact that it's a wildebeest palace. And it folds down very small, and then if you lift it, it's got canvas walls, and it's got a big double bed and a fridge. What else is in there, VMP? LED lights mounted in the roof. It's quite the boudoir, the traveling boudoir. There's a bigger male, could he say? That was a little boy. There's an adult male, not one of the biggest ones we see on Djuma, but a nice boy nonetheless. I'm going to see if we can get a view of him. Oh dear. No, he's hiding behind the Timberti thickets. Okay, well, we're going to keep heading towards where that Eddie was. While we do that, it sounds like Janet Jackson is in residence.
Janet Jackson is in residence at the moment. It's just sitting in a big hole and taking it very easy. So it's in its palace on the top floor and having a little watch of what's going on. So there's a situation where there's kind of just taking it easy and for once not running away from us. So you can see the spots over there. Now somebody's just calling on me on the radio. Just give me 2 seconds. Morning, Sheldon. Yeah, those 3 Birminghams were last seen going south towards Gari Main from Zoe's Road, which is the road to the west of Little Gari New Driveway. So I just needed to tell the guys what was happening with the Birminghams. Now, I believe the guys are telling me that they are tracking lions around the Chitwa area, so we'll try and see what we can find when we head there. Maybe try and give them a little bit of help and have a little look and see what's going on. But our Janet for now is going to be very relaxed and taking it easy and making sure that it's kind of just having a bit of a rest. I would imagine it's had a long night moving around and taking it sort of, well, finding food and all those kind of things. And so now it's just trying to get a bit of a break. But me trying to light this Janet up is just about breaking my arm. So I think what we're going to do is try and carry on, because I'm in a very awkward kind of pose. As you can see, it's almost doing yoga trying to get this Janet for you guys. So my arm's now going to be a bit tired, so we're going to have to kind of string it around like a windmill in order to get it right. But what we're going to try and do, we're going to try and carry on now. I believe a lot of you are thankful that we stopped for the Janet. It's a very cool thing to see, and it's getting more and more relaxed. I think the more we come here and the more we sort of sit, the better it's going to be. And I know it runs away and we don't get the greatest views. Byron has by far had the best view of Janet Jackson with a little face poking out. And so hopefully if we just keep plugging away at it and keep trying, eventually we'll get a situation where we'll be able to kind of keep coming in and actually just see the Janet properly. And maybe we'll even get it coming out of there and having a little look at us and being curious. It's possible. These things happen, and we know from Genevieve, who was the Janet around camp, not to be confused with Janet Jackson, potentially, they can actually get quite used to your presence and be quite sort of brave around you. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll be able to see Janet Jackson a little bit more. So I believe a lot of you saw a Janet on the dam cam last night. There's a brave Janet running around with all those lions kind of calling and moving in between. So maybe that was Genevieve that has made it appear. It would be nice to see Genevieve again. It's been a while since we've seen her, and she's kind of been a little bit sort of muted in that she hasn't really kind of shown any signs. And I know that she does sometimes venture out and goes down towards the dam, so maybe it was Genevieve that's coming to see all of us. And I'm sure Taylor and Jerry and a whole bunch of the guys that were in the Mara during last year would love to see Genevieve coming back, because they haven't seen her. I might have a bit of signal issues as we go down towards this dip, but sometimes we lose a little bit of signal in Jigger. There's obviously got a few issues with signal at the moment that we're trying to sort out slowly but surely. And Conrad did a job yet. I wonder if that's going to stay there. Hold on. Let's just see if we can. This birdie that is sitting right here. Okay. Oh no! Don't fly away, bird. Oh, let's go forward a little bit. So it is a woodland kingfisher, but these guys are going to start becoming harder and harder to find. They're going to start migrating away now. You can pretty much tell that they're about to leave because you can't hear them anymore. And when they stop calling, that's imminent signs that they are about to start heading back northwards and out of our area, which is a shame because they provide a lot of color and festive sort of atmosphere with their call movements all over the place. And you can see it's quite difficult to actually even see any color. That sort of double gray that we're having this morning. Good. Now we're going to try and negotiate this gremlin-filled patch that we're in. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy and see, now that she hasn't found too many signs of lions, what her plans are going forward.
Oh my goodness, Tristan, what did you take this morning that all of a sudden there's all sorts of wonderful colours on your screen? Very cool. I'm sure that must have entertained you all for a little bit. Sorry about that. Right, we're going to carry on going down this road here. This one. I just actually passed Sheldon, and I've had a bug fly in my eye. Can you believe it? Oh no. This upsets me. This, I cannot tell you how it actually, wait if I'm, no, hang on, I'm going to block the entire road off now. This if you want to upset me, you must do this to animals. What sort of happened last night, unfortunately, with somebody driving way too fast down these roads, which is again why we often talk about the corrugations in the boundary roads. So it is a nightjar Very, very sad. Doesn't look like the ants have even got to it yet. Yeah, it definitely happened last night. It looks like a fiery neck nightjar. We're just going to just move it off of the road now. And I'm pretty sure a jackal or some bird of prey will find it there and come and get it. You see, the problem is that maybe they didn't do it on purpose, but when you are driving really fast on these roads and you've got your high beams on, which most people do have because, well, they want to see the animal coming, these birds, they basically become blinded, like a deer in the headlights. Sorry, I'm just connecting myself. Everything seems to be falling off at the moment. There we go, that's a bit better. So, anyways, so that normally happens. And when you are driving really quickly, you can't stop and swerve, otherwise you're going to roll your car. So I promise you there's no point in speeding on these roads. I can't tell you the animals I've seen, not just here in South Africa. In Australia, it was horrific. Driving out to, no, I can't remember where my grandparents' house on a big lake. I've forgotten. Anyways, driving out there that way and seeing and kangaroos, and I even saw a dead echidna. I saw a live echidna as well. So like seeing all these animals dead on the side of the road. Nikki, you don't know what an echidna is? Oh, they're so cool. Nikki's directing. Okay, you have to Google a picture firstly. For those of you that don't know what an echidna is, it's like an Australian hedgehog. It's really cute with a long, sticky tongue. They are so cool, but they're quite big. And, yeah, they're epic. You actually have to have a look at one. They're so amazing. I made my mom, I was like, stop the car! Mom she didn't even know what was going on, slammed on brakes. I jumped out and started running out the side, or got out of the car, ran off to the side of the road. People were stopping, going, is everything all right? And I caused such a scene. I was like, oh no, it's just an echidna, sorry. Tourist, everybody. I was so excited. My mom was very upset with me. She was just sitting on the car shouting at me, get in the car, you being an idiot. I was so happy. I was so happy to see one in the wild, just like cross the road, and then obviously I chased after it. I didn't want to be seen though. It was amazing how it like tucked its feet underneath itself, and then buried itself into the ground. It was really quite cool, and the spines are quite hard in it, but yes, they are very cute. So I mean, in SA I've seen a dead lion on the side of the road before being hit. That's not very nice. The amount of scrub hares and jackals, African land snails are a big culprit. Alright, I wasn't going to drive over it. I was just going to go over it in the middle. You can do it. You've been trying to cross all night. I feel really bad. Do you think I can help the snail cross the road? I think I'm going to, Seb. You know what? I'm going to break the rules here. Because it's awkward lights, and I don't know if there are also lots of non-safari vehicles that are potentially not looking out for them. Snail, hello. My name is Taylor, and I'm going to help you cross the road. So I know you're going to be scared when I pick you up, but I think that you're a big African land snail, and that, well, I know you're the #1 invasive species in the world, but there we go. Be free. My good duty to the day. I do it with tortoises as well, so anything that takes its time to cross a very busy intersection, well, needs a bit of a boost. Even a chameleon I would do that for. Bye, snail. There we go. Help the snail cross the road. Off we carry on. So yeah, so it's always just good, I think, just in driving in wilderness areas in general. It's just alive and don't squash anything on the way. Well, we try our best. Oh. Right. What's the other one? Actually, yes. Paddlesworth, you said that echidnas are one of 2 mammal species that lay eggs. Funny enough, I did know that. Well, are they in the monotremes? What's the other one? Platypus is the other one. And, yes. So that's pretty cool. I have only seen a platypus in not an aquarium. They were in a really cool aquatic tank. Swimming around, they were quite cool, but I've never seen one in the wild though. I'd love to see one in the wild. What happened? I haven't seen lots of Australian animals in the wild. I need to go on a proper exploration. Maybe this year when I go back. I need to actually plan a trip to Australia this year, but I don't know. I have no idea when it's going to be, but it needs to be longer than 2 weeks. 2 weeks is just too short. Right, we're going to move off the boundary roads now and start zigzagging through Djuma to see what we can find. But off you go to Brent. I'm sure he's been driving around and around that Lear Road trying to find that elephant and possibly Hosanna.
Well, just a quick update. Hosanna has crossed into Chitwa, so Tristan's got the best luck at possibly finding Hosanna. Aubrey's got tracks of Tundi inside Torchwood, and also tracks of the Sticks cross from Chitwa into Torchwood as well. We are still looping around the block that elephant was last in, and I'm not sure what we're going to do next. All the tracks we were hoping to follow have all disappeared. There was something of vital importance I had to tell you. What was it? Now I can't remember. It was very important, but now I can't remember. I have completely gone blank. Now, Who Cares is asking about 3 in a row pan on Cheetah Plains, asking do we still go there. Unfortunately not. We don't go to 3 in a row pan anymore. That's why you don't see it anymore. Who Cares? Currently we do not traverse on Cheetah Plains. So unfortunately, no, we do not go to 3 in a row pan. Now 3 in a row pan is one of those names that just seem to crop up everywhere. So in the northern Sabi sands alone, there are 2 3 in a row pans. There's the one on on Cheetah Plains, and then there's one in Buffelshoek, and then I think you might have to check with Taylor, but there's also one on Sabi. I think 3 in a row. I know there's one in the Timbervine. I know about 4 3 in a row pans in the Lowveld alone, just to confuse matters. And some of them, 3 pans in a row is a bit of a stretch. It should be sort of 2.5 pans in a row. Woof. Juliana asking the tough ones. Do we see more animals during sunrise or sunset safari? I don't know. What do you think, Vim? More animals during sunrise or sunset safari? Yeah. Up and down. Oh, sorry, I was just listening to Game Drive for a second. There's a surprise coming. And Tristan's being cheeky on the radio. Tristan maybe just schooled one of the other guys on the radio. It was actually quite funny. I'm not going to say what he said. I'll let Tristan explain his teaching of the baby guides. But it sounds like Tristan's on his way to something interesting. Sorry, that was just too funny not to listen to. But now I'm going to turn my radio back onto Northern Channel only. So quite often I'll sit on scan. So I'm listening to both the Eastern Channel and the Northern Channel. Hello. Hyenas. Hyena tracks. Lots of hyena tracks. We saw quite a lot of hyena tracks on top of the injured elephants tracks as well. As I said, I think he's a bit too fresh for the hyenas to take, but hyenas are incredibly patient and they'll just sit there and wait, salivating. We haven't managed to find that eddy yet, so last tracks of that eddy were heading in this direction. And the problem is there have been so many elephants around at the moment that following his tracks can be a bit difficult. Oh my goodness. I thought I had exhausted stories yesterday, but I forgot one. And the thing that came off second best in this whole situation was poor Vim's car. So, Morning Glory would like to know the story about the day the Nyala jumped into Vim's car. We'd been on a sunrise safari, and there'd been wild dogs. We'd actually been following wild dogs for the majority of the morning, and we'd lost them, and it was raining. And the rain got so hard that we had to can the drive a bit early. About 45 minutes or an hour early. And that morning was Jamie's morning off, so she was sleeping in. And it was pouring with rain. And we owned as our vehicle to move between Ingers and the DRC. So VM had his car there, and I was like, VMP, please can you take me home in your car so I don't have to drive in an open car and get wet again. And we're already really wet by this stage after a good 2 hours of out and drive in the rain. It was before we even had the roofs. And VM's, being the gentleman that VM is, said no problem. And we drove just outside of the DRC and turned onto the road, sort of the road that goes into the DRC. And I can't even, do you remember what we were talking about, Vim? Oh, we were chatting, as you chat. And I think we'd driven about 15 meters. Then all of a sudden, we just heard this, well, I can just remember hearing this massive bang. And a Nyala came through the passenger side window, straight through it, and landed on my lap. And in the beginning, its back was against the windscreen, and its legs were this way. So it kicked me quite hard in the ribs and the head, and I was doing this, and did I shout or scream?
Oh, more of a scream.
Shout, scream. And I can remember saying, get out, and VM opened his door and got out, and I tried to open the passenger door, but the impact with the Nyala had messed with the locking mechanism. And VM actually got out of the car, and then saw I couldn't get out of the car, and then he put his head back in, and this Nyala was kicking me, so eventually I managed to sort of grab it and turn it away to get the legs facing away from me, because the legs was doing the damage and kicking me. And I think VM described it best. He said, well, he was standing there looking at me, it looked like I had a big dog on my lap, because I had the Nyala sitting on my lap with its legs facing forwards like this, and I was holding it around the middle. And there was lots of shouting, lots of screaming. I don't know, eventually I realized I couldn't get rid of this, so I managed to just turf it out of the window. And the Nyala ran off, and then we saw there were wild dogs there. And the funniest thing is that in this part of the world, news travels fast. My mom somehow heard about this. I'm not sure from who. And I was quite concussed, and I was talking on the phone, and Jamie was standing there, and I said, well, was it instead of news travels fast in this part of the world, I said, worlds travel news fast, part world, or some incoherent jumble, because I had been concussed by the Nyala when it hit me. But yes, that was short. That was how long ago was that, Vim? Year and a half? Long time ago. VM's car is now okay, but it sounds like Madam McCurdy has found a bird of prey.
It's our favourite couple, Mr. and Mrs. Wahlbergs. That was very sweet. Look at they've spent so much time with one another. And this is the second sighting we've had now, them preening them, well, not themselves, but each other. The other time was at Treehouse Dam in a marula tree, so romantic. And Mr. Wahlberg he actually wasn't here just a moment ago. He was sitting in a small leadwood tree, and he was shouting, and we couldn't work out what was going on. I suspect he was shouting at the black-chested snake eagle that flew over them. I also forgot how big those black-chested snake eagles are in comparison to Wahlberg's eagle. They look so little. And now he's flown on over to his lovely lass, who's perched up in I think it might be a dead leadwood or a knobthorn. I can't tell from there, but it's very, very sweet. What did you just say to me, Nikki?
No,
I'm not sure if I want to repeat what I heard. Oh, can you? I don't know actually know what I heard. Nikki's just asked me. Remember, Nikki's directing. Can we tell who's bigger? So from this angle, it's a little bit difficult, but we had a really nice view where it was kind of almost eye level, if you will, and they were standing next to each other on the same branch, and we could clearly see that the pale morph was much larger than the normal coloration that you see on the Wahlberg's eagle, that sort of chocolate brown. So we know that Mrs. Wahlberg is the pale morph. Nice camera work. Off she goes behind us into the jackalberry. That'll be a great place to sit and spend most of the day. In fact, a bit more foliage around to keep warm with the wind, and we'll see if Mr. Wahlberg is going to follow in suit. She's very pretty. Does she have a collar on her? Around her ankle? No, I'm seeing things. No, I thought she had one maybe around her talon. And I still think it would be the greatest project ever if we could get these two tagged to see where they go. We talk about this often, and we know that they're intra-African migrants, so they're going to be leaving us soon. But I think it would be really awesome to see where exactly they go. Because, I mean, they can go sort of anywhere in North Africa. They could go to Somalia, anywhere north of that at all. But I'd love to know exactly where they go. Now, Jared's buddy, you're wondering if we have any winter migrant birds, ones that come to South Africa. If that's the case, no, we were actually talking about it the other day. But there are some birds that end up becoming residents, that end up just staying instead of leaving completely. And I think it happens more often than we think. I mean, if the conditions are good throughout the year, what is the point? What is the point of leaving? I mean, the only problem is that will you find a mate? Will there be another bird in a similar sort of situation as you? But there's Mr. Wahlberg up there. Very cool. Okay, well, let's carry on, though. We're going to move on from our birds. Right. Off we go. I have not seen a track today. Not even one. But that's also because I think that the insect that blinded me took my only good eye. My right eye is normally my good eye. And maybe I'll see them now. It seems to be lightening up a little bit. Lots of hippo tracks this morning. They've been busy. So I don't really know where to check, to be honest. I know Tristan's heading towards Chitwa. It was rumblings. I think Brent's spoken to you about the leopard tracks and all sorts of things. So he's heading there. Craig's fixing the camera. Something has gone wrong. So he's sorting that out. I can hear people talking. Driver. I could have the voices in my head again. It wouldn't surprise me if it was the voice. So I think for Brent is sort of covering the section to the north and east. Maybe we'll go to Treehouse Dam. I think he said he wanted to go, but I mean, wanting to go somewhere and getting to that place, well, it's two different stories there, isn't it? So I don't know where those lions could have gone. I thought I heard them coming back around north, but like Brent said, it could have been the Avoca male getting cheeky, and as they were listening to the Birmingham male roars disappear, you know, they could have been coming further south again, as if to say, we chase them away. You know what young males are like. But we'll keep driving around. I think we will go to Treehouse Dam and have a quick look. It doesn't matter if Tristan's already been there. You never know. But off you go, back to Brent.
So we're still just checking the area very carefully for the elephant. We saw a bunch of vultures inside the block between the two roads. Now, it is possible that that big mussbull might have come back and finished the job that he started on that poor young Ellie. And we're going to head back to where we could see the vultures from the other road and maybe just drive off-road and check there quickly, because if that big Ellie decided to finish the job on that young bull, I think it'll be quite good for everyone, including that elephant, because he would have suffered immensely over time. So the problem is there's lots of elephant tracks. There's a big herd that moved through here last night. So I think we're going to go back and go off-road to where the vultures were. Nancy. Good morning, Nancy. And Nancy is asking about the euthanasia of the elephant. If it's euthanized, will they leave the carcass? Most definitely, Nancy. They will leave the carcass, and it'll provide meat for the lions, the hyenas, vultures, and all sorts. Now, I'm just trying to wonder, the vultures are sitting up in the tree, and I mean, we first saw 2, and then there was about another 5. So, I mean, there's enough vultures to think, is there something going on there? Especially in this overcast weather, so the vultures are going to struggle a little bit more. So, let's go have a look. Now, the one thing they will remove, as Michael is asking, is the tusks. And so they will remove the tusks to remove any temptation from anyone. So the tusks will be removed and placed in a safe. So yes, they will remove the tusks. And you definitely don't want to be caught with a piece of elephant ivory, even a shard that you might pick up on a bushwalk from elephants fighting or whatnot. Even being found with a shard of ivory is a big problem. You can spend some quality time as a guest of the state. And apparently, the state hotel doesn't give very good food. A very interesting and difficult question comes from Conrad. Who do the tusks belong to? Well, in theory, they belong to the landowner, because it's private land. In theory, but I think in most cases the landowners do not want to actually have the tusks and have the hassles of storing the tusks and having to keep them in a safe. So in most of these cases, the tusks will go to the state again, which will go into there's a massive ivory storage in Skakuza. So where there's a lot of rhino horn and ivory that's stored from animals that have died in the Kruger and Greater Kruger. So it'll probably go to the state. Now you can, in a circumstance like this, you can actually legally own the ivory, but you need to get all the paperwork done and that, and half the time it's the hassle is just not worth it. So it's much easier to just hand the ivory over to the state. And they have, as I said, those big ivory storerooms and strong rooms where those are kept. Now, we chatted a little bit about poaching and whatnot the other day, and since we're talking about ivory, it's a good opportunity to discuss one of the more controversial topics. I was telling you about the ivory storeroom and rhino horn storeroom. I mean, there's masses of tusks and horns stored in that vault in Skakuza. Now, as I say, I'm going to give you both sides. It's obviously of the story, not just the one side, and often the one side is the more popular side that ends up on social media, and a lot of conservationists is a strong word. A lot of people like to be seen as heroes in the social media world. Will pander to popular. Let me just think how to describe this properly. They'll pander to the populist belief or demand. So, shoot a poacher, as I said, you should never do that. But like that type of thing, and they get a lot of traction from being almost militant on social media without actually ever addressing the real problems and real points. So, for an example, the Kruger is sitting on millions upon millions of dollars of rhino horn and ivory that is just sitting in a storeroom. Now, the argument that is actually being made by quite a lot of conservationists and even by a lot of Kruger officials themselves is whether or not the opening of trade in those products. And Kruger's argument is they said, well, at current demand for rhino horn, just the Kruger strong room can meet current demand, and even if it increases by 15 to 20%, Kruger can meet that current demand for the next 30 to 40 years with just what's sitting in their storerooms. Now, there's a lot of people say, oh, if you trade in the horn, it's going to increase the poaching and etc. Personally, as I said, I don't believe that. And now, quite often, a lot of the state-run nature conservation and stuff like that, and they struggle for funding. I mean, Kruger itself pays to keep a lot of the smaller parks going. So Kruger's hugely successful, but there's a lot of smaller parks that don't have the allure of the Kruger or the Kalahari or Hluyamfolozi, that are important areas and forests and that where you don't have all the elephants and the lions, etc. So a lot of the argument coming from the people on the ground, the boots on the ground, not from the armchair conservationists, and I say armchair conservationists because they're not real conservationists, a lot of those social media panderers, is saying, well, if we can sell this and do it in a sustainable and legal way, we're sitting on millions and millions of US dollars that could be used for more anti-poaching patrols, vehicles, more science, more research into these things. Yet it's the ivory and rhino horn sits in a storeroom and does nothing, gets old, dry. Just wanted to listen for a second. So there's a couple of vultures around. Most of the vultures are actually further to the north of us. So what I'm listening for is if there's any sound of hyenas. Chatty Meg saying horn's not ivory. No, it's not. It's a completely different thing. Now that goes into a whole nother story. So unlike ivory, horn is a sustainable, renewable resource. Ivory is not. So a rhino horn, you can cut the horn off a rhino in 2 to 3 years it'll grow back. And as long as you cut the horn off the whole population, you don't leave one who's got a sharp horn, because then that bull will dominate everyone else. It's a long-term sustainable product that can be continually harvested throughout the rhino's life. And as I say, a lot of people get quite upset about this, but you know what? I'd rather have rhinos around if they don't have horns than not have rhinos at all. And that's my personal feelings on it. And I said there's two sides to every story. And what happens often in these situations is a lot of the anti-sustainable use people and a lot of that are all, my personal favorite is that most of them for some reason seem to come out of the UK. And here we have the UK, who's got, I think, 1% of their forests left, trying to tell us Africans how to look after our resources after they've already obliterated theirs. And that goes for, I mean, the whole of old world Europe has 30,000 hectares of actual true temperate pristine forest left in the whole of old world Europe. 30,000 hectares. That's half the size of the Sabi Sands. So it's quite an interesting thing. But we'll continue this discussion shortly. We're going to go across to Taylor, who's got a predatory bird chowing down.
This is really cool because it's an African fish eagle sitting in a marula tree far away from water, and I think it is eating a tortoise, a little one. Look at that. I can't figure out what else it would be, and the fact that it's sticking its... it's a little terrapin. Oh my goodness, that's so epic. Sorry, little terrapin. Not a nice way to go for you. But very cool for that African fish eagle. This is something that I actually haven't seen an African fish eagle eating before. So there we go. For those of you who've maybe unfamiliar with how, well, the birds and the bees and the rest of the mammal species don't read the books that we write about them, because, of course, they're entitled to write their own story. They always say that African fish eagle typically will eat fish, and they sometimes feed on birds. And, I mean, that's what you would see forever and ever. Swooping down over a dam, catching a nice big fish and feeding on it. I've seen them eating on carcasses, bushbuck carcasses on the sides of river before. So they are scavengers too. Seen them feeding on buffalo weavers. And now I can add a terrapin to the list. It's either a terrapin or a little tortoise. It's a bit hard to tell. I think it may have actually been a terrapin. Now, with all these little mud wallows that have filled up at the moment, you will find lots and lots of terrapins and other sort of aquatic species moving into these temporary pans. We're influx and frogs. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if a big fish eagle even caught an African bullfrog if they came around. So it's obviously, it could have gone down to have a drink maybe and then caught it. Or maybe it swooped over Treehouse Dam. We're not too far away from it as the fish eagle flies. It's pretty close by. And we have seen a number of them around there. Now, beak, not strong enough to unfortunately crash through the shell. So all it's doing is it's just looking where the sort of legs are, where the head would have been, and pulling it out that way. Donna, you've said there's not much meat on there. No, not at all, but this is just a little snack, a little power meal. Maybe it's like a bowl of soaked oats, perhaps, the equivalent for this little eagle. And it's not going to be able to get it all out, unfortunately. I think it's going to definitely struggle. Now, one thing that we do get a good view of is, of course, its talons. And Sophia, you've noticed it. You've exclaimed, wow, look at those talons. Massive, hey? So big, as you can see. And gripping quite nicely. They've got big feet. Although fish eagles are a big eagle. I mean, they're not a small bird anyway. So I think in relation to the rest of their body size, their feet actually look in proportion. If you go and you Google a picture of a pearl-spotted owlet sitting on a branch, its feet are almost the entire size of its body. But this is a really cool thing to see. And these are the sightings that I personally appreciate the most, are the ones that have taken me years and years to see something like this that I'm probably not going to see again. We'll always hear lions roar. We'll always have leopards walking past the car. But to spot a fish eagle in a marula tree on a very ominous morning eating a terrapin is definitely one for the books. Look at that. Perfect, sitting up there too. Now, it is starting to spit slightly. It's not raining. It's not even a drizzle. It's like a thick fog going through past us at the moment. So that's going to be providing nice shelter for this bird. Oh my goodness, here we go. We might have to ask Tim Noakes about this one, because Stanley, you've just asked how many calories in a terrapin. I don't know. Perhaps the limit is 3 terrapins a day. I'm not really sure. I wouldn't imagine it would be too fulfilling. Although we see leopards, young leopards surviving solely on terrapin. Vatomi used to do that, and Hosana did it at one point, Shongile too, Tamba as well. And they're just leaving their mothers, or sometimes their mothers leave them without a choice, which is also very sad. And then they go on their own, and they can just survive purely on it. This is amazing, though. What a beautiful bird. Now, something we were chatting about earlier with the Wahlberg's eagle, we were looking at the pale morph, which was pale morph Wahlberg's eagle, which is larger than the dark morph, the pair that we saw, and we said that it was the female. Now, please may I have that name again, because I've now completely forgotten. White Lady Eowyn, you've just said, is it true with all eagles that the female is bigger? It is with the fish eagle. African fish eagle is the same as the Wahlberg's eagle. I'm not actually sure about that. I don't want to lie to you. I would imagine so. Most of the time it is the females that are larger. Whether it's with every single eagle species, I suppose I could go through my list at some point. It may take me a little bit of time. Right, Tristan seems to be back in action again. He was racing off towards Chitwa. Let's go and get a proper update from the man himself.
Indeed, so we've had a few little minor issues that we needed to sort out. So something with the camera that Craig diligently fixed somehow while we were out in the field, and then also one or two other little things. So sorry about all of that. And now we are slowly kind of getting back towards where we were trying to go, which is Chitwa, and I apologize about Craig's hand wiping the lens. There is a little bit of a sort of drizzle that is coming down. It's not very hard, but it's enough to make spots on the lens and become a little bit kind of messy. So If you see his hand from time to time, I do apologize about that. Now we're going to try and head, like I say, back towards Chitwa again. We had to kind of retract ourselves from that area for a little bit, but we are on our way back that side to try and kind of see what's going on and see what we can find. I believe there were tracks for the Styx Pride in that general vicinity, so we'll try and kind of head off and see if there's something happening with them. But it's amazing how the weather changes. We had this weather, and then we had beautiful, glorious sunshine for a day and a half, and now we're back to this again. And I can tell you it's very miserable, and hopefully it will blow over. At least there's a bit of wind today, so that should hopefully push it quite quickly. It will be gone by this afternoon. That's what I'm hoping for, but it doesn't really look like it. It looks as though it's still quite a lot of thick cloud around. But I'm pretty impressed with Taylor's sighting. Very, very epic to see a fish eagle on a terrapin. I've seen it once before at Chitwa Dam, but it's not something you see very common at all. So it's a very cool sighting. So, First Lady, sorry, I'm giggling because Nikki got a bit tongue-tied and was just kind of got her words a bit mixed up. But First Lady... But First Lady, I would imagine fish eagles must come from the same family as bald eagles. They obviously are part of the same order in that they are aves, but I would imagine they must come from a very similar family, given their huge similarities in what they look like. One, there's brown kind of wings with big white heads, and then two, their habits. Both of them are fish hunters and will go after fish quite regularly. So I think it's, in terms of that, it's pretty kind of clear to me that they should be within a very, very, very closely related family grouping. It would be interesting to know how closely related. I'm pretty sure somebody's done a study on it. And I don't know the answer to this, but maybe Brent does. But they should be pretty closely related, and I would imagine from a very similar line of birds that has evolved into the two different species that we have in America and then obviously here in or in Africa itself. It's not just South Africa that they occur. They're all over the place here. But like I say, they look so similar, it can't not be. So, Randy Apple and many others, you're asking what lesson I taught the other guide on the radio because Brent mentioned it. I just simply was telling him that it's not nice to be rude, that's all, because the other guy on the radio thinks it's funny to poke fun at what we do, and that we are people who are not finding our own animals and responding to something that they have found. And I just politely reminded them that they shouldn't be that way, and that we at Wild Earth find more than our fair share of animals, especially for that particular individual. So that's all. It was nothing too hectic, and I'm pretty sure that we won't have to deal with that problem again anytime soon. It's amazing how there is this sometimes attitude towards us, particularly amongst newer guides that come into this area, that we don't really know what we're doing, and that we are people who have no experience at all, and that we are kind of, what we do is a joke. And so it's just to put them in their place very quickly and just tell them exactly what the issue is and what the deal is, and then we very seldom have to worry about it again from that individual. And I'm pretty sure after today's lesson that individual won't play that game anymore. Anyway, let's not dwell on that, because that was a rather miserable way to start my day, and I don't really like calling people out on the radio anyway, because it's not really the place for it. But sometimes, like I say, we want to just sort people out a little bit. Brent is the best at it, actually. James is my funniest, because James, he generally puts them in their place with language that most of them don't understand, and it's very entertaining to me to listen to it, because I know where James is coming from, and obviously we know James a little bit better than they do, and they kind of don't really know how it goes. Anyway, we are almost on Gari Main, heading back towards Chitwa, so once we get back there, hopefully we'll be able to find something for all of you. There's been a bit of a dry morning for us so far, and while we do that, let's send you to Taylor McCurdy with a birdie.
Well, that's all we seem to be able to find this morning. Here's a confusing one. And I'm going to ask all of you, what do you think this bird is sitting up on the tree? Hashtag Safari Live, let us know. It could be a tricky one, especially to those of you who have only just started birding, because the way that it's sitting is going to fool some of you. So I look forward to your guesses. Look at the eye color, look at the shape of the beak, look at the shape of the tail. Very cool. There's even a call that may confuse you further. But we've got an entire bird party. It looks like it's actually they're in a jacket plum tree. But there's a go-away bird, my mom's favorite bird in the whole wide world. Just bouncing around. It does look like a jacket plum, and there's fruit on there. No, man, we need to get in on that fruit. That's delicious. And you hear the go-away bird now? They're calling. I really wish that meant leopard, leopard, leopard. However, I don't think it does. But we are going down this road and sort of in the direction it's looking, but that's not the only bird that's there. Some really cool ones. Seb is going to try and find some more. You're taking a chance. Seb, we can't see anything against the white sky, so we're just scanning.
There are somewhere there.
Now, as Seb tries to find the African green pigeons that flew into this tree, which could prove to be quite difficult, Zena, you've just given an answer to the question. You guessed that blackbird that we saw was perhaps a starling. Unfortunately not. It's not a starling. Completely wrong sort of beak shape. Where did they go? Let me look with my binocular. Oh, Seb, there we go.
The monitor?
Bottom, go down to the right. Over there was one. Yeah, there we go. Nicole, you guessed a fork-tailed drongo. Good guess, but I knew it was going to catch someone. And unfortunately, Nicole, you fell into the trap. That was not a fork-tailed drongo. But good guess, though. There we go. Stephen, ding, 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 ding. You win the prize. You got it correct. You said a southern black flycatcher. Is it still up there? Oh, it is. Okay, so perfect. Now we can look at why it isn't. I thought it had actually flown away. So with a fork-tailed drongo, they have a red eye. I know it's difficult to see, but when he turns to us this way, you can actually see that eye is completely black. Yes, there is a slight fork in the tail, but not as prominent as the fork-tailed drongo. That split sort of goes quite far up towards the rear end of the bird. And then the beak, look at the beak. That to me also gives it away. You see, the beak hasn't got a sort of curved hook on the end of it, which a fork-tailed drongo has, and you can't see any of those little bristles just off of the side of its beak too. That's another feature that the fork-tailed drongo has that the southern black flycatcher lacks. So a tricky one that catches out lots of guides. It's definitely, when you first start in the bush, it's an assessor's favorite trick is to point out one of these guys. And most of the time, because we see the fork-tailed drongos all the time, we would say a fork-tailed drongo. And why it was further confusing is because there was a fork-tailed drongo calling in the distance as well. I could hear that very mechanical call. We have another look at the African green pigeons. Now that I've spotted one, Seb, can you start? Can you start to see? There are so many of them. Sadly, they were feeding on a guarri, a Euclea divinorum. We're quite close to the road, and there must have been about 10 of them. I didn't even see them. Look like Christmas decorations on the tree. Now this one has decided that it's full, and I can't imagine how many berries it's been eating, and those eyes are becoming very, very heavy on this chilly morning. Linda, you're wondering if this dove is pregnant. No, I don't think that's the case at all. It is cold. Like Sebastian and I, I've got 30 jackets on to keep us warm, so we kind of look like the Eros man too. That's what this dove is doing. It's just basically, and it's not even a dove. It's actually a pigeon, an African green pigeon, and it has fluffed itself up to try and keep itself nice and warm. Let's just see something. Remember we had the go-away bird shouting? You see what I'm looking at? I think it's in that. We'll come back to the pigeon. Sorry, I'm putting the pieces of the puzzle together this morning. Look, that is a little raptor. I think that looks like a snake eagle. Is it? Looks like it, hey. It's a bit far away. Very hard to see, but those sort of bright yellow eyes, almost like Unsuku, one of the Birmingham male lines. He's got yellow eyes like that too, so I'm going to go ahead and say that that's probably a brown snake eagle. It's quite far away. that, Nikki says in proportion to where we are, or in relation to where we are, it looks the same size as the flycatcher, but it's much bigger. No, I think that's what the go-away bird was staring at and shouting at. I think it was just saying, hey, we can see you up there perched on the tree. It's quite nice now. The wind has actually calmed down quite a bit, and its temperature's definitely changed. So there we go. A nice snake eagle to see in the distance. Very cool. I want to actually, do you know what, Seb? The birds are maybe gonna fly away for this one. I want to get closer to this jackal. Why do I keep saying jackalberry? Jacket plum. Papaya capensis. Stop saying jackalberry. Let's see. Maybe we can get even closer. Then wait. Let's see if we can don't wake sleeping Bluety. Oh, look at all them here, Seb. There's so many of them.
Another one.
There's about, if you go in there's about 4 in that area. Here we go. Look at that. Well, we did get 4. Well done, Seb. So, like I said, there was an entire flock. Now, they eat fruit. They love to eat some fruit. It's their favorite food. And that's why they hang around on the fruit tree. So whenever you do see a guarri tree that's fruiting, or a jackalberry, or like this jacket plum, I did think I saw some fruits. Let me just have a look with my binoculars, see if I can find some. It's so delicious. And we've only had a couple of chances to eat a jacket plum fruit. It's a big one too. It's quite a big one. Is it a jacket plum? I'm just now trying to look at the leaves. I need to maybe go closer. I'm pretty sure that it is, because it did have those big berries. Was it on higher up on the branches? Those birds are precious, though. You're quite right. Hey, they're so tight. Look at those bright orange feet and those dark nails. Hey, you had them done recently, and if you look very closely on its beak, you can actually see a bit of skin, and you see that on the white tip of the beak. There's a bit of green skin from the fruit. That could either be from an unripened guarri or perhaps from the jacket plum fruit. The jacket plum fruit typically goes red, but there is like a green sheath sort of quite low down on the fruit where it sort of joins onto the stem. So I think that's what it may be. Now, we must actually come look here on a bushwalk and actually go underneath the tree, because if those fruits start to drop on the floor, we could start to see soap bugs, which are quite cool. For those who don't know what soap bugs are, they look like millipede assassins, essentially. And they feed on the seed of the jacket plum. And I only saw them for the first time on a bushwalk here since I've been at Wild Earth, which was really quite nice. How awesome is this? Well, I'm glad to have said hello to the African green pigeon, and I'm sure you all did too. Hopefully you're all as cozy as this fella is. But off we go across to Brent. I think he wants to get out of the car, but before he does, let's go find out what mission he's heading on.
Well, we're still on a mission after that eddy, and we saw some vultures come off the ground in the thickets over there, and we actually can't get the car in there. There's a few vultures up in the trees there, and it's a really difficult area. Lots of pushed down knob thorns, so we actually can't move the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick little walk very carefully into that area, see if that is the elephant that's died. We're probably about 500 meters from where we last saw the elephant yesterday. So I'm going to go have a quick check. While we do that, let's see if Tristan's made it to Chitwa yet.
We have indeed, and we've managed to find a spot trying to get into a better position that we can actually see him, because he's kind of tucked himself in behind a little bush here, and so it looks like Tingana that's lying in this area. Yes, it is Tingana.
Oh my goodness, but are the gremlins just attacking everybody today? Oh no, and Tristan apparently had just found Tingana too, and I get sent back to the African green pigeons. Sorry, everybody. I'm pretty sure Tristan will try and reposition so you can have a lovely view of Mr. T, but now you're stuck with me. But shall we have another look? Because we got a different angle. I can't believe how obliging these birds are this morning. I even said to Seb, I was like, I need to get a picture because you don't often get such a cool sighting of African green pigeons because they're normally dangling ups in the tops. Oh, goodness. I need to go back to bed and try again today. Goodness gracious. Right, let me try that again. You normally see them up in the top of the tree and sort of all the foliage because, of course, that's where the fruit is growing. Dangling upside down, especially if it's a fig tree of sorts that's bearing its fruit. That is my favorite place to do birding, and I'm really sad that we don't have any massive fig trees here in the almost said the Msutlu River, but we're not in Sabi, in the Mulwati, and there we would have an opportunity, if we did have some, we'd have trumpeter hornbills, we'd even have maybe crowned hornbills come through, watching the African green pigeons dangle, like I said, upside down. Because when you see these birds sitting on the perch and, you know, we're laughing, saying, you know, they look pregnant, they're so fat, you wouldn't think that they would be very nimble and able to sort of hang around on big fruit, but they can. They're pretty cool. They're really good at climbing and holding on tight. They are such stunning creatures. Now, Cecilia, seeing as though we've been talking about the Wahlberg's eagle, which we know are migrants, intra-African migrants, the question from you is with regards to the movements of the African green pigeons. And yes, they are residents. They're here all the time. It's kind of like also the little bee eater. Just because you don't see them all the time, it doesn't mean that they've necessarily disappeared. Remember, these animals are constantly moving and are not necessarily bound to one spot. So wherever there are trees fruiting, you know, if they get word that there's a tree 30 kilometers from here, they might fly 30 kilometers and spend a couple of weeks up there. And that might be where all the African green pigeons go. So another, like I was saying, like the bee eaters, because we do see a lot of bee eaters, some intra-African migrants, some Palearctic migrants, and they also are residents, the little bee eaters. They don't go anywhere. They just stay in southern Africa all the time. Well, very cool, though. Colbolt, that's the one. Sorry, we don't get any hummingbirds in the area. The closest thing I think we have to a hummingbird is perhaps a sunbird, and maybe even, I don't see them here, the Cape Sugarbird, which you'll see in the Western Cape of South Africa, so on the west coast in the sort of Fynbos region. But I've never seen a Cape Sugarbird, to be honest. But yeah, the closest ones we have that are, you know, small in stature and relatively long beaks and also feeding on the nectar of plants typically is the beautiful sunbirds. What I'm going to do is, while you stare up at that, I'm going to show you what some of them look like. Let me just open my mobile device. Okay, where am I going? Sunbird. And I'll also show you what a sugarbird looks like too. Ooh, which sunbird am I going to show you? Should we do the Mariko? Because that's probably the most common one that we see here. Mariko, where are you? I can't find it. I found it. Okay, Seb, you can come to me now, please. Asking for a link? Let me... Wait, there we go. There's a nice picture of a Mariko sunbird. We normally see them bouncing about the tops of the Scotia tree, so the weeping boerbien is a typical one. There's lots of honeysuckle that grows around lodges, so this is the most common one. Let's see if we've got more. Beautiful iridescence. There's the female. She's not as pretty as the boy. And I think it gets quite confusing with the female sunbirds because they kind of all look this color, to be honest. Leading on. Right, next, let's have a look. And again, we don't see the sunbirds all the time. Where's another one? Let's do an amethyst. And I passed it already. Copper, dusky. The other thing is that, like I was going to say, is that we don't necessarily see the sunbirds all the time, but they're residents. Okay, I'll show you. See that? All that greenery means that they stay here. It means that they aren't moving. If it's typically yellow in color, then it means that they're intra-African migrants. And if it's blue, they're Palearctic migrants. Look how beautiful this one is. Where's a good one? No, there, that's a goodie. So So stunning. The amethyst sunbird too. We can see that up here. We don't see them very often, but as soon as the trees start flowering again, when the boerbeens start flowering, we'll keep an eye out for them and have a look. I'm going to find the sugarbird too. Have a look here. Here's a Cape sugarbird. Quite pretty as well. But you can see, look how limited they are. You see that just around on the Port Elizabeth is about there, but I've never seen them before. I've never seen a Cape sugarbird. Here is what they look like. There's a nice one sitting on a protea, our national flower, which is quite cool. Some of you may have never seen a protea before. You get lots and lots of different types of them. Let's see. There's an adult. There's a female, not as pretty. Doesn't have the long tail. Oh, do you know what? I have to show you one more, but it's a sunbird. Sorry, Seb. Malachite. This is my favorite. Actually, I think this is my favorite, but I haven't seen it in a while. I don't think we get them up here. Look how cool that is on a poker, red hot poker flower. They're beautiful. And a long tail too. So stunning. So stunning. Amazing. Very cool though. Now, X-Ranger, last one from you. You said, do other birds use Twitter to tell one another where the fruit is? Perhaps. Maybe they do. Maybe some of those accounts that you think aren't real are actually birds. And while you contemplate that and rethink everything that you thought you knew, off you go back across to Tristan, Mr. T, and some signal.
Well, at least we've got some signal now and that we can actually see Tingana fairly nicely. And he's taking a really big nap at the moment. He's pretty typical of him these days. He doesn't seem to move around too much. He just likes Chitwa Dam area. Kind of every now and then see him moving away from the dam, but for the most part lies at the dam and then just rests quite a lot of the time on the fringes waiting for things to come near him. Now, where he's lying at the moment is slightly north of the dam itself, and it's a perfect spot actually because you've got a nice cover here where it's not going to mean that, well, it's going to mean that not many things are going to find him, but he can watch all the ongoings of the open area that's basically at his back at the moment. He doesn't seem as though he's too interested in hunting right now, but he can then watch what's kind of happening behind him and see what's going on, and then if he needs to hunt, he can then take it from there. So it's not a worse place to be, and it's probably why he's spending so much time at Chitwa, is that one is he's got water, two, he's got food, three, he's got a situation where he's got a number of females here that have cubs in this particular area, so he's providing some semblance of protection to them, and he's staying out of the way of both quarantine and hukamuri, which means that he can take it pretty easy and have days like this where he can just have kind of bed weather and sleep and not have to worry too much. But he definitely looks better than when a few months ago. He was way worse about 6 weeks ago. He's at least come back from that. He's still not massive, and you can still see he's a little on the skinnier side than what he used to be, but he's not looking as nearly as bad as what he was. There's at least some roundness to that tummy. He's not got his hips sticking out, and his face actually seems a lot more alive and much more Tingana-like than the last time I saw him. He's kind of got this sort of, not as, I don't know what the word is for it, but not as gaunt as what he maybe was a few months or a few weeks ago. So really good to see him, and happy that he's still around and still hanging in there, which is very, very cool. So, Jono, you say is your favorite big cat. Now, are we saying leopards or Tingana? Because, well, leopards are my favorite big cat, and Tingana is an absolute beautiful example of what a leopard should be, especially when he was in his absolute prime. Tingana was a seriously big boy. A lot of people kind of always spoke about Anderson towards the end, well, in the last few years, but Tingana, make no mistake, was a big leopard and is a big leopard. He's got a massive dewlap, big shoulders, and I've seen him and Anderson side by side, and while Anderson is slightly bigger than him, it's not by much, and so Tingana is still a very impressive specimen of a leopard, and he's done a lot of good for this area. We've had a lot of interesting kind of behavioral things from his tenure as a dominant male, and he's been incredibly sort of tolerant of the young boys. So the Tamba and Hosanna, he's really allowed them to kind of hang around much longer than I thought he would, and that's been pretty cool to see as well. So it's always good to spend time with the old Duke, and like I say, he's looking better, so he's not nearly as frail as what he was kind of looking like a few months ago when he was, kind of walking around, and you sort of got this feeling that something really wasn't right with him. At least now he looks as though he's kind of back to semi sort of good health and body condition, and hopefully he's going to be able to catch himself quite a few meals. Now there's a car that's going to join us fairly shortly, and I'm hoping that that will trigger him just to put his head up for a little bit, but probably not. Willie, his hips do look better, don't they? They got a situation where he's kind of seems as though there's not as much bone showing there. I mean, you can still see that it is a little thin on that side, but it's really a lot better than what we had a few weeks ago when he had that kill on the southern side of Chitwa airstrip. He really didn't look good at all. He kind of was skinny, and he looked as though he was kind of sick in a way, whereas now he looks almost like the Tingana of old. He's kind of, his round self is getting his sausage-like appearance, and his face itself also doesn't look nearly as kind of sad and as narrow as what it was a while ago. But you can see how relaxed he is. It's pretty incredible. He doesn't even bat an eyelid for vehicles when they come in. He kind of just opens his eye, watches them, and then he just closes them again. You have to think, I wonder how much time has been spent with a leopard like this in terms of how many hours vehicles have sat with them and kind of just been around him, that he's become so kind of blasé with them. Indigo, it might just very well be his retirement home. Although if we look at somebody like Mvula didn't really establish a retirement home anywhere. It kind of moved around all over the show. But maybe Tingana's decided the best way for life is to find a place like Chitwa Dam and just kind of take it easy from there. He's got everything he needs here, so it's not like he has to walk far for food or water, and hanging around in this general vicinity and not having to deal with the big other males that have been moving around is a fairly good thing, I think. I think it's been a perfect situation, and he's been lucky that he's had a place like this where the other males haven't come, that he's been able to kind of recuperate from his condition and to get himself back into a situation where he's, like I say, healthier and probably a lot more capable of defending himself. So Jono, you say leopards in general are your favorite, and so I can't agree more, Jono. It's the best animal that we have out here, in my opinion. We have, we are blessed to have a lot of incredible species in Africa, but leopards for me are just the epitome of epicness, and so I love spending time with them, as you all know. Now, he also wants to know, John, about the sort of strength of leopards and whether or not they are the strongest pound for pound of the big cats. Definitely here in Africa, they are the strongest pound for pound of the big cats. Even though lions theoretically are much larger and contain a lot more power, if you had to go pound for pound, the leopard's strength is far more than what the lions are. And obviously cheetah are not designed for power at all, and so the lions and leopards are way, way, way stronger than what they are in many aspects. So yes, they are, and it's part of the reason why they're so remarkable is their ability to overcome prey that is so much larger than them. If we take a number of these leopards, they've all displayed the ability to go after very, very large prey. And so you have a situation where, like, let's say somebody like Tamba, who recently killed that kudu cow, that's something that's almost 3 times his weight or more, and that he's able to kill that and wrestle that down is absolutely incredible. And then you look at when these guys take carcasses up a tree, sometimes they're taking their own body weight plus the animal that they've killed, which can sometimes weigh as much as they do, up against gravity with their mouth and shoulders up into a tree is pretty impressive. So amazing cats to follow and to watch, and even when they're sleeping like this, there's still some sort of beauty within them. And he's actually looking very serene today, isn't he? He looks as though he's kind of in max chill mode and not a care in the world. I suppose when you've seen as much as he has, there's not that many things that you have to stress about. Fortuna, Tingana is now, well, it's a rough estimate because we don't know 100% for sure. We don't know exactly where he was born, and therefore we don't have the sort of date of birth, but we reckon that he must be about 12 years old. And he moved into this area when he was about, we think about 5. So we first started to see him in 2012. Yeah, 2012, beginning of 2012, end of 2011, somewhere there. It was where we first started to see him, right on the western side of this northern sector, so close to an area called, well, on Simambili Elephant Plains, on that boundary with Ottawa. That's where he first started to appear. You used to see him on Elephant Plains airstrip every now and then he started to shift slowly but surely east, and is now obviously settled where we are now. So it's been an interesting kind of following him around. So Michael, who's posted on Twitter, thank you, Michael Fleetwood. You say that I posted a photo in 2011, which was the first photos posted of Tingana, and late 2011, so end of 2011, it's about right. I remember actually some of the sightings we had of him. He was impossible when we first started to see him. You would get within 100 meters and he'd just start running, and he would not let you anywhere near him. It's pretty crazy to think he's kind of the way he is now, but he used to be really difficult to find. And I remember, like I say, the first time that I saw him was actually on Elephant Plains airstrip, so it was a sighting at night, and he was the skittish male that was found, and we kind of got there, and he was just on the edge of an airstrip stalking warthogs, and then he just settled down in the grass. And I think because it was so open, he had nowhere that he could really run to, so he actually just sat there kind of watching us. And as soon as we turned off our light, he just bolted for the thickets, and that was the end of the sighting. We didn't see him anymore. And then we started to see him a little bit more, kind of coming towards a place called Big Dam on Arethusa Private, and I had the most epic sighting of him at Big Dam, like walking along the edge of the water and then onto this big fallen over tree. And that's when he started to kind of relax. It was almost like that was the point where he was kind of accepting, and then we started to see him mating with Salahesh and Moya and various other leopards that were around at the time, and him mating with them, that's where he started to really get relaxed. And then a few carcasses and a few days spent on those, and then he started to be the Tingana that we know today. And obviously now he's this kind of very chilled cat that doesn't really blink too much when we come across him. But very cool to kind of have followed him for as long as we have. It's been, a long time. 2011 until now is a really good innings of following a male leopard. So we're very fortunate that we've got a leopard like this that has survived for as long as he has. Good. While we keep with Tingana, we'll try and see what he's going to get up to. There's a few impalas drifting about, so maybe they'll wake him up. And so while we wait for that, let's send you back across to Brent, who's back on his vehicle, and I'm sure he's been investigating where this elephant has gone.
So, welcome back, everyone. So, they've asked us to try find this elephant, so that's busy what I'm doing at the moment, but I'm being very, very careful, don't worry. And we found where he spent the night. And you can see he's been here for a long time. He's completely flattened all of the vegetation. And again, this very runny dung. And you can see it's very, very runny, and it's just sort of flopped out and then drifted down. The dung beetles have been in it. And even for an elephant who digests very little of what they eat, you can see there's even less digestion happening here. So this is sometime during the night, probably quite early in the night yesterday. We're probably about 500 meters from where we found him. And I think he's probably quite close because he spent the whole night. We can actually see little bits of blood in some of the bushes here. So we're on his trail. Shame, poor boy. So what I'm trying to do now is work out exactly where he went. You can see he's just stopped around here. You can actually see here he's used this really strong piece of zebra wood, and he's leant against it to try to take some weight off himself. I'm just trying to have a quick look. It looks like he went this way though, through here. Now, one would think an elephant is easy to track. A herd of elephants, yes, but a single elephant in an area where there have been lots and lots of elephants is actually really, really difficult. It's actually more difficult than trying to track a leopard or a lion, because you're looking for a single elephant, and there's been probably 30 or 40 elephants in this area overnight. Now, you can see the way he's walked is quite different from a normal elephant. So normally, I'm going to come to the side so I don't wander too far. So a normal elephant, sort of, you see the steps through the grass, but like here, you can see he's walking like this. He's dragging his feet and he's flattening all the grass as he goes. Shame, poor guy. So I'm going to keep looking for him. The sooner we find him, I think the better for everyone. The vultures confuse me. I think there were a good 10 or 15 of them. But they were down there, and we've checked on foot there very, very carefully. Because what often happens with an Indian elephant like this, it will find one of those little ravines, those little river systems, and will find a steep bank, and he'll just lie against the bank like that. Okay, so we're going to just slowly check through here very carefully. Now, as you can see, there's quite a lot of water and moisture in his dung here. It's drifted out of his dung. And Laura Moore's asking, will he move to water? He's lucky at the moment. There's a lot of water around. There's about 5 or 6 little puddles and pans, all very close to where we are now. So this is definitely him. Okay, so for those of you who might not have been with us on the sunset safari yesterday, unfortunately the first thing we found was an elephant with quite a bit of its stomach hanging out. And we saw that big musk bull on the sunrise safari, and it looks like he got into an altercation with this Ellie bull, who's still big. He's around 30 years old, but they obviously had a fight, and just left armpit there's a massive tusk hole, and I'm pretty sure it was that musk bull we dealt with in the morning, sometime between the drives, that he had a fight with this bull and stabbed him. And it's very sad, but these things do happen. And we probably, well, as I said last night, the officials are probably going to euthanize this bull, because there are bushwalks and people all around. So he's okay now, as it's a very fresh wound. So he's okay at the moment, but the problem is 5 or 6 days time, once infection sets in, that animal will become very dangerous, and also he'll just be in a huge amount of pain. So the Sabi Sands, I called them in yesterday, and they called the Mpumalanga Parks, and I got a message from this morning, has anyone seen that elephant? So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to find that elephant again, and I'm spending quite a bit of time driving off-road. Now, of course, just with an injured animal, it can be very, very dangerous. So I'm trying not to walk too much, and we're just trying to find him again so we can let the authorities know exactly where he is. And so while I negotiate my way through this thick area, let's go across to Taylor to see what her plans are for the rest of the morning.
I actually don't have any plans now, because I've not seen a track of a predator this morning other than a hyena, and then I did see some civet tracks at one point too, but sadly nothing. We've got some elephant dung, you can see. Let me try and avoid it. Wait. I don't want to drive over the dung. It looks like it might have been from this morning. No, it looks like yesterday afternoon. Just checking the tracks. Bitcoin Ninja, hello and welcome. You said, is this really live? Like really, really live? Yes, it's like really, really like live, happening like totally right now. It's happening. I'll even tell you the time on my mobile device. 33 minutes past 7 a.m. Central African time. I don't actually know what the day is. You've caught me there. You have caught me. What is the day today? Monday, the 26th of March. If I had a newspaper in 2018, it's not 2017 recording, I would hold it up for you. So welcome. Welcome to, well, either a problem in your life because you're going to want to quit your job because you'll be watching Safari Live all the time. So yes, this is 100% live. Look, there's some animals. Bitcoin Ninja. Hello, animals. Those are impala. You'll be seeing many impala if you continue watching. They're quite cool. Hopefully you'll get to hopefully you'll be able to experience some of these impala that climb trees occasionally. It doesn't happen all the time though. It normally takes the type of spotted cat that Tristan is sitting with to make them climb the trees, because this in fact is the favorite food of the leopard. There are plenty of them. There are no shortages. Oh, I see some sneaky youngsters in there still. They're going to be kicked out soon. We're about to hit rutting season. It's coming up. I can't wait. Already starting to hear the gurgling sounds and the grunts of the impala rams as they start fighting for territories and for breeding herds. Ha. It's always a fun thing to watch. Hopefully we'll get some impala fights. That's a youngster though. Hello. Are you coming to us? You're just coming across to get a better look. They're very pretty. They're almost Disney-like. Little flies bothering it. You can see sitting on its face. Oh, that's very annoying. Bitcoin Ninja, you said thank you very much. There we go. I'm glad we managed to convince you. Our plan worked, Sebastian. No, I'm joking. It is really live. So we've come down to this corner to have a little scratch for any leopard or lion tracks, but so far no cigar. But the elephant tracks are starting to look a little bit better here, but I'm thinking maybe it's because it's quite a sheltered spot with all these quarry trees that are around. So maybe that's it. But let's keep going. The tracks are going in this direction. Now, Bobby, you've made a comment with regards to the looks of the impala and typically their feet. You said that it looks like they're always walking in high heels. I suppose that they do. They're on their toes, running around. And the reason why that does look like that, like I said, is because they are indeed running on their tiptoes. They're sprinters. You can run fast. You never see a sprinter running with its flat foot on the ground. So off it goes. I'm going to scratch around for these elephants, and hopefully they haven't crossed Buffelshoek boundary and disappeared north. Maybe they've just ventured slightly east, so we'll be checking the thickets around here. Off we go to Tristan, who, he might actually be having a snooze with Tingana.
Well, maybe it's Tingana's gotten into the point where he looks as though he's completely passed out and found himself a nice little pillow in the form of a log, and so watching him has been kind of, you do get into that point where you start to kind of feel like you might be a bit nappy yourself, so you kind of get a little bit drowsy and your eyes get a little heavy while you watch, especially a leopard like this when he's as comfortable as he is, and you can see he's got himself into the most perfect spot just to relax and keep himself as chilled as possible. So I don't think we're going to see much more from Tingana today. I don't think we're going to see him actually moving around too much now. The weather conditions, though, could mean that by this afternoon he's moved from where he is, although so far what we've seen of Tingana over the last few months is that he's pretty chilled and stays in a very similar spot through the course of the day and then moves around a bit at night and does his hunting around sunset. So I wonder if maybe that's what he's going to do, is just bide his time sitting in these thickets, and then when we have a situation where waterbuck and impalas and those kind of things come onto the open areas during the course of the night and transition through these thickets, that he might then start hunting them at that stage. That's what I think is going to happen. But his legs are stretched out, his head is on a little branch, and so I think he's ready for a good long day nap. So Jared's buddy, Tingana, Tundi and Shadow are of all very similar age, yes. So it's interesting because we've gone through this major kind of change in the leopards' dynamics in the last year. If you think of Kruger, and Shongile and all these kind of things that have happened. But we tend to forget very quickly that we've got an aging leopard population as well. So our sort of most viewed leopards that we've had over the course of the last few years have pretty much, some of them have disappeared, unfortunately, in the form of Karula and Salahesh. And then, you've now got a situation where Tingana and Tundi and Shadow are starting to age. Tingana is a lot closer to the end of his kind of lifespan than Tundi and Shadow, given that Tundi and Shadow, the females normally live slightly longer, and you can get females that will go a little bit sort of older, and if you look at Tandi's grandmother Safari, she survived all the way up until 19 years, so that's a long time from now. But they are starting to get a little bit older, and so we've got this different aging population within the area, and so it's nice to have females like Kuchava around, Sabui. These are younger, and Shadulu. These are all three are young individuals and will probably form the backbone of our leopards going forward. So those are going to be leopards that we're going to see a lot more of, and they're going to hopefully supply this area with a lot more females that will eventually grow up and become like Tandi and Shadow that we follow for 12 years. But they are starting to get a little older, unfortunately, and it's crazy to me to think that Tandi is as old as she is, because when I first started here, she had just had her first litter. She had her first litter when I first came up into the northern Sabi sands, and she was a young female that wasn't even into her prime just yet. And now to think that she's an aging female makes me feel a little bit older. What's wrong, boy? Is that branch in the wrong place? Yeah, the branch was in the wrong place, so now he's just rolled over so that his head doesn't have to lie on the branch. It was obviously not feeling that comfortable, so he's just flopped over. So Haley, no, he can still mate, and probably will still try and mate. It's just that he's getting older, which means that competing with these younger individuals like Quarantine and Hukamuri is difficult for him. They are fit and young, and they are confrontational. They want to take territory, whereas he, on the other hand, his body is starting to slowly but surely break down. It's not because he's sick or anything like that. It's just a natural process as we get older. So it becomes harder and harder to move around, harder to hunt, harder to defend territory. And so it's not that he can't mate and won't mate. If we look at Mvula, for example, Mvula mated when he was... Boy, what is going on? Are you not winning with that branch? It seems as though this branch is really giving him a tough time. But while he's got his head up, I just want to try and see if we can maybe get into a different position that we can actually see his face and move. But he will mate if he gets a chance. Like I was saying, Mvula mated when he was a little bit... when he was a nomadic male with Shaluvan, so he will still mate and if he can, but it's just that he's not patrolling as much of a territory, and so if he does mate, it's going to have to be with a female that's very, very close. The problem that he has is that all of his females that he kind of looks after at the moment are pregnant. So, if you look at Tandi, Kuchava, Shadow, even... I suppose Inkanyeni at one point was a female that he mated with, although he hasn't kind of been that way for a long time. But they've all got... not really too many individuals that he can actually mate with at the moment, and so the time that he's got left, I don't know if those females all successfully raise their cubs, whether or not he's going to get an opportunity to mate. Are you hiding from us, Tingana? But you haven't chosen a very good stick to hide behind. Shame. I think this stick is really irritating him, because it's kind of lying right across where he wants to lie. Now he's trying to tuck his head behind the stick, not on it, to try and sort of get some semblance of comfort, but it doesn't look very comfortable at all. He's kind of got his head pushing up against it, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to move at some point. I don't think he's going to stay that way for too long. So Bitcoin Ninja, who I believe has joined us for the first time today, and you've asked your first question. Congratulations and welcome to the addiction. And you want to know if we supplement the diet of these animals. No, we don't. So all of this is completely wild. If these animals find food, they find food. If they don't, they don't. And so we have had very unfortunate experiences of watching animals basically wasting away from battling to find food, and examples of that are an older male leopard that I was talking about just now called Mvula, and he unfortunately in the last little bit has gotten skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and we think unfortunately has passed away from it. So because it's 100% wild and a natural system, we have a situation where we don't get involved at all. There is things where animals are going to get older, they're going to be sick or injured, and they are going to pass away, and that means that they provide nutrients for not only the certain other animals but also into the ground, and that then promotes growth of grasses, which then feeds prey animals, which then feeds predators, and so on. So it's important that we don't interfere too much. It's a situation where these animals have survived for many, many years, and they have a very fine balance that they all kind of fit together, and when you start tinkering with that, then you start to change the outcome of what's going on. And if you, let's say, hypothetically keep a male leopard like Tingana alive for much longer, he might then kill the cubs of a newer male that's in the area, and so the knock-on effects of that to feed an animal is really quite massive. And at the end of the day, you then make that animal reliant on people, which makes him a lot more dangerous when they do get older, as they might then start to try and attack people because they're not getting the food that they need. Good. Now, Tingana, I don't know how much he's going to get up to. We'll probably sit with him a little longer to see what he does. I want to just maybe pop down towards the dam just now. But while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent and find out how far that elephant has gone and whether or not he's still on the trail of it and has maybe have some updates on where it is.
Well, we are still on the trail. We went into the big block between Central and Quarry Pan, but we could not resist showing you one of my favourite little critters. Where are you off to? The dwarf mongoose. Oh. They are so cute, and this one's particularly curious. They're actually coming closer and closer to us. Oh, no. The smallest thing can make them scuttle off. And you can see how long their claws are. That's very, very important for digging up all sorts of food. We're not that interesting anymore. Oh, there's another one coming. Oh, there's some right almost under the car popping up behind us as well. There we go. That's quite a big one. Now, it's been quite cool this morning, so it's still sort of wake-up time and greeting, and you can see there's quite a lot of touching and talking. Oh, we've got 3 now. Oh, see the one on top of them? Now, they are the smallest member of the order Carnivora. Oh, look, there's a whole bunch of them greeting now. Hello, little guys. See, this is the morning meeting. A lot friendlier than the Safari Live morning meeting. So a bit of aloe grooming, seeing how everyone spent the night. How was your night? My night was great. Do you want to take a flea off me? Yes, please. I'll take a flea off you. Okay. So these little greeting ceremonies are very important in social animals like dwarf mongoose. They help affirm the bonds between the little individuals. Oh, they're playing. Scuttle, scuttle, scuttle. Little wrestle match. And if you listen carefully, you can actually just hear the little contact calls between them. It's very high-pitched little squeaks. They are very, very cute. You can... Oh! We're all gone. Bitcoin Ninja, who didn't believe we were live a little bit earlier, the new viewer, says, you guys are awesome, super job on the camera. Yes, VM is doing a splendid job, because these guys are not hard, they're very hard to follow, especially when they're jumping about like that and running around. They can be very difficult. And they are tiny, tiny, tiny. Giving us the look. Now, the nice thing is if you sit quietly like we've been doing with these guys, they become quite relaxed around the vehicle, and you can see they just carry on with their behavior as normal. Oh, itchy. Itchy, itchy. Now, of course, we habituate lions and leopards regularly, and Wisteria is asking, can you habituate dwarf mongoose like the big cats? Indeed you can. If you spent enough time with them on foot, you could probably sit amongst the little group and habituate them. The problem is they have multiple different homes, so they sleep in a different area every night. Oh, they've all disappeared. They're disappearing or foraging. We're not that interesting anymore, so we're going to keep moving. Okay, so let's keep moving. We're going to keep trying to find this elephant who's not so well, unfortunately. And while we do that, it sounds like Taylor's found some Ellies who are doing well this morning.
Whew. My goodness. It was actually quite a funny sight with what happened here. I'll tell you why. So as we're driving along Gallagher Road, Seb says to me, did you hear that? Did you hear that? So I quickly turned the car off because I didn't hear anything. And we sit and we listen and we hear nothing and nothing. And then the next minute, we hear like a crunch, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, there's elephants. And then I see the top of a silver cluster leaf just disappearing. Literally, it just toppled over. So it's quite funny when the elephants pulled it down. Let me reposition slightly. Unfortunately, majority of the herd has already moved off down in this way. I don't know if we're going to see them. Lots of babies. It could be quite cute, but we don't off-road for elephants. It's just a couple of cows left here. Let's see. Hello, good morning. Do you mind if I look at you? Yes? A little bit. She minds a little bit, but it's okay. She should settle down now. There we go. She's still eating. Now, here's a great controversial conversation we can just dive into this morning, and it's brought up by Sarah. Do captive animals have those sort of natural instincts, I suppose, and hunting capabilities? And the answer to that is yes. Which is why there's no such thing as a tame lion or a tame leopard or a tame elephant. You cannot tame a wild animal. And that's why there's so many people that do go to these rehabilitation centers, and they said, no, this lion is tame. We've had it for 10 years. It can still turn on you at any second because that instinct is still there. Unfortunately, you might not be able to release those lions if they've been hand-fed their entire life, as they won't be able to hunt very well. I mean, and then they're also associating humans with food. So there's a big problem. So yes, to a degree, Sarah, they do most certainly still have some of those hunting and capabilities, and that natural instinct is there. So if you move too quickly, that might trigger, a lion to attack, sudden movement. That's why you've got to be very careful. And so I don't touch any animal. Very cool, though. Look at this little guy. Have you got a piece of devil's thorn? Looks like it. And yes, and as Nikki said, there's no need to ride animals. There's no need to ride an elephant. There's no need to even ride an ostrich. But again, this is my opinion. You can do what you like, of course. I don't do these things. I don't touch the animals, and I don't ride them. I ride horses. That I do, definitely. But I won't ride a zebra. I won't ride an elephant. I will not try and climb up a giraffe either. That's for sure. Hello, little elephant. Thank you so much for coming out this morning and joining us on the show. No. Back this way, please. We'll go there. I think we might be able to have a bit of fun with this little elephant. Looks a bit cheeky. The way that it pulled that piece of devil's thorn out of the ground with that beautiful plant with the... It's not beautiful. It's got big thorns on it that aren't nice when you stand on the foot. A purple flower. Let's see. Are we going to be charged? Hello, you're so cute. Very sweet. And wandered all the way away from Mom. Or maybe this is Mom back in the bushes behind us. You can't see her at the moment. But old enough to not need to be standing underneath Mom's belly. And that's for sure. And they are quite cheeky at this age too. And not really paying much attention to us right now. Focusing very hard with its trunk in the grass. What are you looking to eat? And they have cravings. I'm pretty sure elephants have. Today they go, oh, I need some chocolate. And then maybe the equivalent for chocolate for elephants is marulas. It depends on the time of the year too. I think they have many equivalents of chocolate out in the bush. I mean, at the moment they're eating a lot of the silver cluster leaf with all the pods on. Look, it's resting its leg on. Is it on a log or something? Hey, who does that? Is it Captain Morgan that does the leg on the barrel? Yeah. You're a bit young for that. Perhaps it's been watching too much TV. So just feeding through that little thicket. That's actually passing through some nasty trees. I thought I saw a little buffalo thorn there, but a buffalo thorn on elephant's skin is going to do absolutely nothing to it. They'll be able to mow straight through it. Even the big acacias. I actually got caught on a buffalo thorn this morning. You might have to ask Tristan to show you the video of me getting stuck, but you have to ask him to turn the volume down. Because I was upset when it ripped my nice Nat Geo jacket. No one helped me. Everybody just stood laughing at me this morning. It was very entertaining, apparently. You can maybe ask Tristan, even if he's sitting with Tingana, he's not doing much, maybe he'll show you it. So, he did threaten to post it on social media. And I was like, oh, you go. I'm so scared. I'm shaking in my boots. I was like, nothing can beat my face plant. So I feel like, you go for it. Little Ellie, you are very precious. There's another older one coming out of the back, in fact. There he goes. Now, a tough one to answer, Bobby, and it is, when do elephants come into must? It depends. We briefly touched on it yesterday. We actually speak about it quite often. So it depends on the varying factors. How many big elephant bulls are in the area will determine how old a bull is. If there are lots of big bulls in must, like, that are between their mid-30s, 40s, and 50 years of age, you'll probably find that a 20-year-old elephant stands no chance at coming into must and mating with a female, so that state might be prolonged slightly. It's all got to do with their health as well. So if your animals are experiencing a drought, they could quite easily not come into must too, just because they haven't been able to eat enough, they haven't been able to gain enough nutrients. So there's a number of different factors that sort of play a part in that. Out here, I would say, because there are a lot of big tuskers, I would say the average age for an elephant bull, again, I'm just talking from my own experience here. Brent might have something slightly different to say, and the same with Tristan. We all have different views, which is why it's so exciting to hear the different opinions. I'd say anywhere between about late 20s to early 30s would probably be the first time that an elephant bull in this area would come into must, probably from about 25 onwards. I don't think very much younger than that. They've still got lots and lots of growing to do. And the cows won't tolerate the young bulls anyways trying to mate with them. They'll chase them all away. Jared's buddy, you're wondering if I can mend my jacket. I'm now trying to see. I thought it ripped it quite bad. No, it might be just being a drama queen. Let me take this off. Yep. No, now I'm stuck. Let me not rip that one. Can you see a mark, Seb? There. There's a little hole. Can you see it?
Yeah. But you are being a drama queen.
I'm not. Look there, Seb. I can feel the wind coming through that. I'm lucky that I didn't damage this jacket anymore, because those buffalo thorns are nasty. Hang on, wait, let's find the injuries on this jacket. This one is even, look at it, faded now. There are many an injury. Here we go. This is classic buffalo thorn. Look at that. That's what it can do to you. If I find my shirts as well, you'll see. So that's damage. What else? This jacket's got many. Look here. Look at this one. Another one. Ripped. Lots and lots. There's another one. Look at this. Character on your jacket. So everybody always says to me, Taylor, we love your jacket. Where did you get it from? I was like, I've had it for a long time, probably like almost 3 years now, and it's faded from being in the wash and in the sun all the time. You can't buy things that look like this, although I suppose you can sometimes. That's another thing my dad actually always says to me. Everybody, obviously, the trend is to wear jeans that have got rips in them. Obviously, my dad says it to me every single time I come home, or any of my friends, and he'll say, oh, shame, a bit tight this month on budget-wise. He goes, it's fine, I'll buy you a new pair of jeans. He cannot understand why we pay more for pairs of jeans that have rips in them, and ones that are faded, that look like they're 30 years old. So yes, that's it. Anyways, I think I was allowed to link to Tristan. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to do it anyway. So After my big storytelling, I'm going to try and get a better spot with the elephants, but off you go to Tristan, and who knows, maybe he's also going to be poking fun at me today.